Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, August 19th, 2019. At this time, 2020, I apologize. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Richard Panafleck, to address you. Minister Panafleck, you have the floor. Minister Panafleck, if you can hear us, can you kindly unmute your mic, please?
Sorry about that. Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to my esteemed colleagues, the members of the media, and the people of St. Martin. As of August 18, the Ministry of VSA was informed that we are currently at 209 active cases. 11 patients are currently hospitalized and 2 patients are isolated and being monitored. Of the active cases, the collective prevention services are monitoring 196 people in home isolations. The number of people recovered since the first case surfaced on St. Marta has increased to 107. 520 people are now in quarantine based on contact tracing investigations carried out by the CPS. In a continued effort to control the spread of the virus, CPS has tested 680 travelers arriving at Princess Juliana Airport and 1,330 people throughout the community. The Ministry of VSA is currently in the process of opening a care center which will offer treatment for patients who test COVID positive and was admitted to St. Martin Medical Center but no longer require intensive care. The care center will be fully equipped with staff who will monitor and provide treatment as needed to the patients. This will strengthen St. Martin Medical Center capacity as they will be able to make available rooms for patients who are COVID positive but in critical conditions, and also other treatments that have to take place at the hospital. If you have been exposed to someone with the virus or experience flu-like symptoms, please remain at home and contact your family doctor immediately for the next steps. Also, I would like to state that you have to treat everyone else except your members of your own household as potential cases. What I mean to say is, whenever you're dealing with somebody else, colleagues, relatives, even family members, wear your mask. Keep your social distancing because you never know who might potentially have the virus, and if you are in your comfort zone, this might have how you say that, can be in contact with them and get infected by the virus. So please wear your mask, keep your social distancing, and sanitize your hands as often as possible. And when it's available, wash your hands 20 to 30 seconds with soap. Thank you for the opportunity. God bless St. Martin. God bless us all.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning, Deputy Prime Minister. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the media, and a blessed day and good morning to the people of St. Martin. The effects of the corona pandemic has forced St. Martin into a state of emergency in March 2020. During this time, from March to now, the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport has been there to support and guide the process of education amidst all the challenges. The students of the exam classes were assisted, and while some of them have left on August 4th to continue their studies in the Netherlands, others are yet busy finalizing their exams. The new school year has begun, but the COVID-19 virus is still present in St. Martin. From March to now, preparations has been done to ensure that the educating of our students could continue. The Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, with the input of the school boards, established the St. Martin Education Continuity Plan. The Education Continuity Plan provides various approaches that a school can implement to provide education to our students. The Education Continuity Plan put the safety of our students and staff first. All school boards have submitted their safety plans and are being scheduled for inspection of their facilities. On July 31st, 2020, I requested all schools to start with distance learning. The amount of active infected cases was 49. Today, the number active at this moment in St. Martin is 209. There are three entities in the lives of a student. These three entities are their parents and guardians, teachers, and the government / minister and education department. One of the responsibilities of these three is to look out and safeguard the health of the student. Distance learning as a form of providing education is advised at this time because this approach provides the highest level of safety to the students and school staff. Looking at the rate of the infection in our community at the moment, St. Martin counts for about 7,000 students. Moving these students from where they live to take them to the school premises means moving the students and other persons back and forth. Movement of persons increases the spread of the virus. Let us safeguard our students, school staff, and the community of St. Martin. Let us use the approach of distance learning. I thank you, and let us all keep St. Martin safe. I will await any questions that would come.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the floor.
Good morning. One second. Good morning, Ms. Roach. Good morning, honorable colleagues. Good morning to the media. I would like to start this press briefing off with a reading from the report of State Secretary Knops to the Second Chamber in the Netherlands as it relates to the liquidity loans from the Netherlands to St. Martin. The CFT was again unable to establish that St. Martin has met the conditions for the second tranche of liquidity support. This means that no talks will commence with St. Martin about the provision of a third tranche of liquidity support. If St. Martin still wants to have this conversation, the country will have to first demonstrate to the Council of Ministers via the CFTA that all the conditions set for the second and third tranche have been met. The Kingdom Council of Ministers will then assess the request based on the circumstances at the moment, whereby it will, in any case, be examined whether there is still a need for liquidity support. People of St. Martin, I would like to now review the conditions and the qualifications and what we've met for the liquidity support. St. Martin received 24 million guilders, which was part of the first part of the second tranche after accepting the conditions set by the Kingdom Council of Ministers. In a letter of June 30th, CFTA wrote that it had recommended that St. Martin received 53 million guilders for the period of May 15th through June 30th. 29 million guilders would be made available after the following conditions were met. A minimum contribution from employees of 20% for the payroll support program. 2, an adjustment of the graduated scale for the payroll support program to a one-on-one method as it relates to the loss of revenue. And 3, the adjustments were to go into effect as of May 20th. Just to be clear, not June, not July, but May 20th. The letter further provided a more detailed explanation as to the application of the conditions. In a letter addressed to the State Secretary Knops on July 21st, 2020, and copied to myself, The CFT informed the State Secretary that St. Martin had satisfactorily met the conditions of payroll support adjustments. Considering the adjusted conditions of the payroll were going to affect as of June 1st and not May 15th, as stated in the conditions, the amount will be reduced to 2/3 of the 29 million, which is 19.3 million. That brings us back to the Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting on August 14th. Which stated, the CFT cannot establish that St. Martin has met all the conditions for the second tranche of liquidity support. This means that no talks can be held with St. Martin and about the third tranche of liquidity support, the State Secretary went on to say. If St. Martin still wants to have this conversation, the country will have to first demonstrate to the Council of Ministers through the CFT that all conditions have been met. This request will then be assessed by the Kingdom Council of Ministers on the basis of the circumstances at the time, whereby it will in any case be examined for the further need of liquidity. I would like to reiterate what was stated by the Minister Plen, Mr. Rene Valleninas, during the last Friday's Kingdom Council meeting, which is at the time of the decision regarding the second tranche conditions, a substantial part of the applications for May had already been processed. The implementation of the adjustment as of June 1st was reasonable given the date of the decision making. So the adjustment of the conditions of payroll support program was not successful on May 15th, and because of that, the 29 million was cut by 9.7 million guilders. To that, no consideration was given to the fact that we started the program later than the other islands. No consideration was given to the fact that the decision to adjust the payroll program was made in mid-May by the Kingdom Council of Ministers. No consideration was given to the fact that the payroll support program was agreed and budgeted for 3 months, April, May, and June. St. Martin covered the May payroll from its already scarce liquidity, as no consideration was given to the fact that a previously introduced payroll program could not simply be changed in the middle of implementation, and the principle of legal certainty that is violated by the immediate amendment of the program in accordance with the advice of the CFT. During the meeting of August 14th, St. Martin requested to accrue the deducted funds, which were cut because of the 2 weeks delay in implementation of the adjustments to the payroll support. I would now like to go on to the conditions for the second installment of the second tranche. St. Martin has or had a fundamental difference of opinion with the CFT about the validity of the legal reforms approved by Parliament, recently adopted by the Governor and published in the National Gazette. This concerns reforms for which significant legislative changes were necessary. It is noteworthy to note that St. Martin has nevertheless succeeded in having such reforms approved and declared applicable. These reforms are savings for the remaining part of SSRP not funded by the Netherlands. We have made adjustments which form part of the Budget Amendment 2020. The deadline was July 15th, which we did not achieve. The total salary and emoluments of members of Parliament and ministers must be cut by 25% per year and until further notice. As of July 1st, 2020, additionally, no indexation is to be applied until further notice, and the savings are to be booked in the general resources. The CFT is of the opinion that the 10% salary cut already taken in April is not to form part of the 25%. CFT refers to a motion passed by Parliament on March 28th, in which an additional 5% salary cut and 20% material cut is supported. Finally, the savings are to be embedded in the budget amendment, which has not yet been presented to CFT, and as such, CFT cannot evaluate yet whether the required amendments are related to the conditions that have been included. The retirement age increased for the civil servants from 62 to 65, and to be replaced by the final salary regulation with the median salary regulation. The statutory regulation was approved by Parliament on June 3rd, 2020, and adopted by the Governor on June 18th. and published in the National Gazette as of July 1st. Another condition met, the AOV, the General Old Age Pension, the increase of the age from 62 to 65, approved on July 15th by Parliament and adopted by the Governor on August 11th and published in the National Gazette on August 12th. At the time that advice was made by the CFT, it had not been published and consequently not determined to be completed as per required condition of the second tranche. These reforms will lead to a savings for the 2020 budget and to a cost saving of the salaries and benefits package for the government officials. In other words, the enforcement of these reforms will affect the working conditions of the public servants and will lead to a savings in the 2020 budget. Not counting these reforms will further complicate the successful conclusion. Not counting these reforms will further complicate the successful conclusion of the negotiations with the unions and the acceptance of the 12.5% reduction in employment conditions package. The 12.5% annual reduction of the salary and benefits package of civil servants and workers in the semi-public sector is financed for at least 50% by government until further notice. And CFT would also like to see that no indexation will be applied either until further notice. St. Martin presented a document in which it described the application of these conditions. It was mentioned for reduction in vacation allowance. In addition to that, additional expenses on trainings, uniform, meals, travel expenses were also included as part of the package. Additionally, we also included the reduction of the pension premium. CFT has indicated that these two items are not to be considered as part of the reduction of the 12.5% as they stem from a previous Kingdom Council of Ministers meeting, instructions in 2015 and 2016. I'd also like to mention that the legislative trajectories have started, but not yet completed, and there are still negotiations with the civil service unions that have not yet been concluded. As such, there are no formal decisions with the unions. Given all what was said above, the CFT therefore concluded that St. Martin has not yet complied with the 12.5% reduction. Another condition was the maximizing of the salary and benefits at 130%, which we call the Jacob's norm, from the government-owned companies and entities for the semi-public also, which are financed by 50%. The same is also valid for consultants. The calculation was made, which was submitted. It also included the reduction of the pension premium, and such the conditions is considered not completed. St. Martin is of the opinion that these implemented reforms should form part of the reductions, particularly the 12.5% reduction in terms of employment packages, and the CFT does not think so, and therefore assumed a total discount of 20.5%. The CFT does not judge with due regard to the local context, as I have mentioned before in a previous letter sent to them. In that case, the discussions with CFT are, to say the least, complicated. This difference of opinion leads to, among other things, to the fact that St. Martin is of the opinion that it meets the conditions set for the second tranche, while the CFT cannot determine this. In regards to the third tranche, starting the discussions about the third tranche of liquidity support is important sooner rather than later. We will continue communicating with the CFT. In fact, my cabinet and myself, we have a meeting today at 3 p.m. In conclusion, we are currently working on responding to all the concerns expressed, and will make all effort possible to ensure that we have a seat at the table. It does require, however, cooperation from all the ministers, all government departments, civil servants, unions, the relevant high councils, and once the legislative amendments reach, then also Parliament. In addition to the safety report and the letter, I'll also like to mention that to remind persons to apply to the income support and unemployment program, the deadline is this Friday coming. A completed income support application form is needed, a copy of a valid St. Martin issued ID or passport, expiration date no longer than 6 months, an upload of the Chamber of Commerce document, and an upload of, if relevant, vendor, bus, or taxi license. And also upload of your tax returns of 2018. As of September 1st, a stamped copy of 2019 income will also be required. And that would conclude my part for today until the questions were like that.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, to address you. Deputy Prime Minister Duran, you have the floor.
Good morning, Ms. Roach. Thank you. Good morning to my colleague ministers, members of the media, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. Today, I wish to update you on the following. Recently, together with the staff of the Department of Infrastructure Management, I held a meeting with the directors of the district cleaners. This meeting was geared towards ascertaining the concerns and challenges experienced by the district cleaners as well as the expectations from the Ministry of Vrome. Many of the district cleaners were faced with similar challenges. One of their main concerns were being improper disposal of waste by the residents. I would like to urge residents to dispose of their waste in the central bins and monitor the garbage collection schedule to better plan for garbage disposal. I also expressed my concerns regarding the lack of use of protective shields, which in turn can potentially cause damage to passing vehicles as well as pedestrians. All trucks disposing of waste are to have the truck beds properly covered in order to avoid loose items falling or flying onto the main roads. This form of littering creates hazard to motorists, pedestrians, and the environment alike, and is therefore being discouraged. In addition, I'm also advising motorists to be extra cautious in the area where they see district cleaners at work, and to take their safety into consideration. I wish on behalf of the government of St. Martin to express sincere gratitude to the district cleaners for a job well done in ensuring our environments are kept clean. Residents are also encouraged to monitor and take full advantage of the pre-hurricane cleanup schedule as the peak of the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season quickly approaches. The flyer with the cleanup schedule can be found on the Vrome Facebook page, the page of the government of St. Martin, and the local newspapers as well. The cleanup is being executed by the garbage haulers of the designated districts. And residents are to dispose of debris in their yard in the central bin location as previously announced. The garbage haulers will be collecting vegetative debris, construction and demolition debris, appliance and electronics, as well as other hazardous household waste. Senior citizens and or disabled persons in need of assistance during the cleanup should contact 520-7023, that is 520-7023, or 520-7028. That is representatives of the Department of Infrastructure Management. The cleanup ends on August 31st, so I'm once again urging residents to take full advantage of this opportunity. I'm also encouraging the full cooperation of residents during the preparation for any impending weather that we might be facing, because collaboration is very important with that respect. Now I would like to move on to updates from the Office of the Prime Minister. The counter proposal for the third tranche of COVID-19 liquidity support was finalized by the Council of Ministers ahead of the August 14th meeting of the Rijksministerraad. A letter including the Council of Ministers' sentiments and views was sent to the Prime Minister Rutte, State Secretary Knops, and the Parliament of St. Martin on the 13th of August, after being approved by the Council of Ministers. In the letter, St. Martin views were outlined on how the countries can come to a consensus, and is explained how the approach would be presented by St. Martin. It is more in line with the current Kingdom Charter and the Constitution of St. Martin. St. Martin counter proposal includes a three-layered approach, regulating the financing, the supervision of these financing, and the execution of the reforms. Unfortunately, St. Martin's proposal was not supported by the ministers of the Netherlands, who expressed that though they appreciate the efforts of St. Martin to come with a proposal, the content was not in line in what the Netherlands wanted or envisioned. The Netherlands sees the proposal as a means of ensuring that the needed reforms are realized, while St. Martin believes that the new entity fully infringes on our autonomy. Lastly, I would like to update on the continuous rise in the amount of cases, the active cases. It has our full attention. Over the past few days, I've been meeting with relevant medical stakeholders, and they update me regularly, as well as the Minister of VSA. People of St. Martin, as we have been saying for the past month, please wash your hands, sanitize frequently, wear your mask, keep proper social distancing, and practice proper hygiene. We are in this fight against this virus, and we are all we have. We have to push together. We have to adhere to the regulations and guidelines handed down by the Ministry of VSA, and together we will be able to combat this pandemic. That will be all for today, Ms. Roach. God bless the people of St. Martin and stay safe. I look forward to any questions that members of the media might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister Duran. If you've just joined us, you are listening to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, August 19th, 2020. Thank you for joining us. Before we move on to the question and answer session, I would like to inform that the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements, but is available for any questions the media may have. The floor is open, and I would first like to call on Stephen Cerulean of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Roach. Good morning to you, Council of Ministers. My question is for the Minister of VSA, Panafleck. Last week, the Minister of TIAT indicated that there were over 60 shops closed on Front Street since the pandemic. Can you tell us as to how many persons have been made unemployed since the arrival of COVID-19?
Thank you, Mr. Stevens, for the question. To my ministry, the Ministry of Labor, I have contacted the labor head, the head of the Labor Department, and she told me actually that the amount of requests for us by the Labor Department have dropped a little. That with the month prior. So the exact figures I will be looking forward, and then I will send it to you so that you have the exact figures. But that is the information I got from the Labor Department so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. Thank you, Stephen. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Dr. Stockren of Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Relika. Good morning to all of the ministers that are present. Thank you for hosting this press conference. This question is for Mr. Panafleck. I was hoping that you might be able to. You mentioned that we've now tested 618 people at Princess Juliana International Airport. I'm curious as to, did we find any positives during those tests? I'm also interested if you could confirm for us the capacity of the COVID care facilities that we have at the St. Martin Medical Center. How many beds do we have? How many ICU beds do we have that are specifically designated to COVID care? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Dr. Sock. Concerning the amount of people tested at the airport and how much were positive, I have to say that less than 5 persons, I guess it's something more like 2 to 3 that have been indicated that were positive and has been in quarantine for that matter of fact. what have to be clear is from the time of that we opened to the United States market, 1st of August, up to now, the amount of people that tested positive, considering everything, is how you will say it, is very minimum. It's very minimum. The amount of COVID active cases right now, you could clearly state it's not because we have opened to our airport to the American market, but it is something that is internal itself. And we are being monitoring for it, how to see how we can curve it. One of the things that is happening this time is that is a lot of testing is being done. There are more tests being done, if you can imagine, and you could see than previously because there are more capacity to test. Right now, we have two labs that are busy testing. One of the labs right now is going to be focusing more on St. Martin Medical Center for their test, and the other lab is helping with testing for both the airport, the general practitioners, and where necessary, CPS, when CPS needs to be testing people, also they will have. They are, like I said, overwhelmed, but they are doing their best to help St. Martin's people, and to help the community at large to continue functioning as well as possible.
Question about the capacity at St. Martin Medical Center, both COVID regular beds and COVID ICU beds.
Right. At this present moment, they have 11 person in St. Martin Medical Center. The capacity is up to 16. That's why we are basically also looking into the facilitation for care facility, seeing that was indicated that there are some of the patients that could move out of St. Martin Medical Center because their condition is not required that they are in St. Martin Medical Center, but with some medical supervision, they can be allocated in a low care facility, and that is what we are working with.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. Thank you, Dr. Salk, for that question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today, and our Prime Minister, which is overseas. Question to the acting Prime Minister. Prime Minister, acting Prime Minister, is this a concern that the financial future for St. Martin is not looking bright at all? As you said, the Dutch is still infringing, and St. Martin, now there are different conditions for St. Martin to comply with. Is that so? If St. Martin do not comply with the condition of the Dutch, then the Dutch will not make no adjustment? Can you explain to us?
Thank you very much, Lyndon Brown, for your question. I would like to pass the question, however, to the Minister of Finance, because he is in constant contact with the CFT, and they also have a meeting scheduled today. So I would like to hand the question to the Minister of Finance to answer the financial related question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. As I mentioned before, we are busy currently working on reaching all the concerns expressed by the CFT, and we are also having a meeting with them today at 3 o'clock. So obviously the talks still continue. That was just a headline of one particular media house. I don't have any official indication of that from Basic or CFT. As I mentioned before, we are dealing with all the matters concerned, and we have a follow-up meeting today.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Thank you, Lyndon, for the question. I would now like to invite Bibi Shah of SMN News. You have the floor.
Hi, good morning. You hearing me now, Rulaika?
Yes, Bibi, we can hear you.
All right. My questions are for the Minister of VSR, the Minister of Education. Um, I think it was last week after the court handed down its verdict with the situation with Learning Unlimited. A letter was sent from CIA asking for the ministerial decree or some kind of law to be put in place to have school closed. Minister Panafleck, Minister of Education Samuel, where are we with the decree? And the reason I'm asking this is not only because of CIA asking for this decree so that they could remain closed and have their parents understand that there is a law now that they would have to close. I'm asking this because a civil servant just this week was tested positive for COVID-19. This person posted it on their Facebook page. This person have children working at Learning Unlimited. And what we understand, her partner is a physical education teacher at that school. Now, I guess you understand the reason for my question and the possible contamination among students.
Thank you, Bibi, for that question. It is important to know and to realize that the Minister of Education was never and still isn't out to close schools. Closing schools is like discontinuing education. The reason the education continuity plan was established was to take into consideration the rate of the infection in the community of St. Martin. And when we look at the infection in St. Martin, we will then adjust to a form of teaching, educating, and in this time we have chosen to use distance learning in order to continue with education. In order to indicate that we have a serious problem, we are definitely awaiting the final reports from the health professionals. We do not need to pass a law to force an institution to close. As I have said in my opening remarks, there are three entities in the lives of students. One of those entities is the parents or the guardians, one is the teachers, and one is the government slash Ministry of Education, Minister of Education. The primarily goal of these entities is to look out for the well-being of the students, and at this moment in St. Martin, the well-being of their health, this of the students and the staff of the institution. The Ministry of Education at this moment, we do not yet have any concrete evidence of the statements you made of whether or not a teacher at the facility and the facility is infested. So we will await this information. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw, for the question. Not to go into the part of education, but the part of health. For the Ministry of Health, it is imperative that government take actions and do anything that is possible within the law naturally to uphold and keep the people of St. Martin as safe as it can be. There will be sickness in the world and also in St. Martin, but like this pandemic, certain things that have to be done and could be done, the government is naturally trying to adhere as best as possible. Sometimes things happen and you might not agree with it, but sometimes within this kind of situation, especially with this pandemic, that so much is uncertain and the scientists are learning every day and still do not come to one conclusion for one cure for this. Sometimes government have to take the role of taking actions into matters and then have to look at it afterwards for history to decide if you have done the best possible that you could have done seeing the circumstances. So what happened that the judge had spoken over it, we are adhering to the verdict of the judge, naturally, but government will continue in its trying to make sure that we keep as much as possible of the community as healthy as possible, to do all what it is in its powers within the law, like I say before, to get that in this way that the people are as safe as possible as can be within this situation of the pandemic. Thank you, Ms. Shaw.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. Thank you, Doc. Yes, BB? I stand.
Because I didn't get the answer I asked for. Are they working on a decree? And Minister Samuel, I never said the school was infested. I said a civil servant posted on her page that she was tested positive. This civil servant has students, her children attending the school, and her partner is teaching there. So I did not say that the school is infested. I said a mother who is a civil servant posted on her Facebook that she's tested positive. She's living with her children. Her partner teaches at the school. Let's put the points together and see what may happen. But what I'm asking, Minister, are we going to work on the decree? Because I read the verdict, and the verdict, there's enough space to give you the opportunity. If you really want to safeguard the health of the students, then come with a decree. I didn't get the answer to that question, the decree.
Thank you, BB, for the follow-up. As I indicated, the ministry is awaiting the reports from the health professionals, and based on the reports of the health professionals, the ministry will move forward.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. Thank you, Minister Panafleck, as well as BB for the question. I would now like to invite Dimitri Whitfield of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Ms. Roach. So good morning to the Council of Ministers, to Deputy Prime Minister Duran, to my colleagues in the media, to the listening public. Good morning. My first question is to Deputy Prime Minister Duran, and I'm actually asking this question in your capacity as Minister of Romi. Minister, considering that there is a weather system looming in the tropical Atlantic, and although its track is still uncertain, it's forecast to become a named storm and threaten our island sometime over the weekend. Last week, you said that the 4 priority shelters would be completed by the end of this week. Can you provide an update on these shelters? Would they be available immediately? And can you provide an update more generally on the country's preparations for a potential hurricane strike?
Thank you very much, Dimitri, for the question. Indeed, I did mention yesterday that, last week, sorry, that the scheduled repairs for all the 4 emergency shelters would be completed by the end of this week. I would like to give an update on the 4 priority shelters. In regards to the Rupert Maynard Community Center, the installation of the shutters are near completion. In regards to the Dutch Quarter Community Shelter, the roof still needs to be sealed. They are currently finalizing that part. In regards to the NEPA, the installation of the shelters are near completion as well, and the kitchen shutter needs to be adjusted. With respect to the last shelter, the Milton Peters College Gym, the installation of the shutters are still on the way, almost near completion, and the water tank and generator house has to be completed. So that is the last update that I received yesterday based on the report from the NRPB. I hope that answers your question.
Deputy Prime Minister, can you indicate whether some of the shelters would be available for use immediately should there be a potential need for it?
There will be shelters available for use immediately. What I give a brief synopsis of what is lacking in terms of finalizing the complete project. But in the event that there is a storm, there are shelters that will be available for the people of St. Martin, as was made available a couple of weeks ago when there was a potential rainstorm threat.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister Duran. Thank you, Dimitri, for the question. We now move on to the second round. Stephen Cyrillian, you have the floor.
My question is for the Minister of VSA again. Minister, earlier on you stated that St. Martin now has 209 active cases of persons who have contracted COVID-19. 11 of those are patients at the medical center, and 2 of us are in isolation. and are being monitored by CPS. Can you say as to how many of those persons currently infected are male? How many of them are children? And by what extent has that been affecting other families as well?
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. As the last reports that I got giving the information that you were being asking, 48% of the totality was male, and you had like 13% of youngsters. But youngsters, we're talking about between the age of 12 to 30 years. So basically, that is the demographic of the situation, how the virus this time is conducted itself between the community of St. Martin.
Thank you, Minister Panaflex. Stephen? Thank you, Minister Panaflex. And thank
That's okay, Ms. Rich. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you, Stephen. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Dr. Sokrin. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Rodika. I appreciate it. This question is for Minister of Finance, Irian. With all of the discussions that are currently happening with the Netherlands and the continued work that will be happening later today with the CFT, can you give us some insights into the SSRP and the June payroll support program? Lots of folks have submitted their applications. I know the deadline was slightly extended. Do we actually have the money to fund June payroll support at this juncture, and when can folks start to expect to receive those payments? Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Dr. Sock. Yes, we do have the money to pay for June payroll, and as of next week, I believe the payments will start as soon as the portal closes.
Thank you.
And the portal closes on Friday.
Thank you, Minister Irian. Thank you, Dr. Sock, for the question. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
And this question is going to be between Minister Samuel and the Minister of Finance. Minister Samuel, the school bus drivers, their work will be history sometime soon, seeing that school we are now doing the new normal. And what the school bus drivers are saying, well, Minister, the question is between both of you, Minister Irian and Minister Samuel. They didn't receive no monies from April. And while other buses and other people receiving, and they are furious, Minister. What good things both of you can tell them, ministers?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for the answer. Mr. Brown, the ministry have had discussions with the school bus drivers, and we have discussed the topic of carrying students or not carrying students, and based on that discussions, they have been informed of the situation. So we have had that meeting, and the details of that meeting, definitely I don't want to bring in the media like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. Minister Irian?
I have no further comments.
Thank you, Minister Irian. Thank you, Minister Samuel, and thank you, Lyndon, for the question. Bibi Shah, you now have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Ralaika. Minister Panafleck, I know today you're getting a lot of questions because the numbers are going higher and lots of places are closing down. Can you tell us, my question is two-parter, how many labs on St. Martin is currently operating? How many of them actually closed because of COVID-19 quarantine? And Minister, there are a number of complaints whereby people are saying that they have symptoms of COVID-19. They're calling 914 as this forum has constantly announced that people with symptoms should contact CPS 914. People are calling this number. No one is answering. And whenever they finally get someone that answers the phone, the appointments that are given, it's like 3 and 4 days away. So a person might take 2 or 3 days before they can finally get someone at CPS. And then when they do, they have to wait another few days before they can actually get tested, and then another 2 days before the result comes out. By then, they are in touch with a number of people, and I believe this is one of the ways, I don't know, that the numbers are going up because I don't know if CPS is short staffed. I don't know what's going on at CPS, so I'm asking you to tell us exactly why it is taking so long to reach CPS and so long to get a person tested. And then how soon are we going to have this care center?
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. To answer your question, St. Martin still remain on the Dutch side with the same two labs that they have, the SLS and the HCLS. Those are the two labs that we have on the island. Concerning the 914, I've been informed about this through many channels, and there are some challenges. Yes, because of the large amount of people and the jobs that have to be done, tracing, follow-up, and all the service that CPS is doing, yes, we are a little on the short staff, but we are busy working on that too. CPS have received extra epidemiologist out of the Netherlands and an extra contract tracing coordinate nurse also to help the CPS, and we are continuing looking into other ways how to do that. The assistance of some entities are even offered that we are looking in, and also we will be looking into, just like the first time, the civil servants, which departments right now are on a low, if we can get some volunteers out of that. So we are looking into the situation, and we are, yes, we heard about the complaints and all. About the facility, I have gone there with the medical director of Samad Medical Center. We look at the location. Right now, he went back and he's putting on paper, naturally, you know how government works, everything goes on paper, to see what is necessary so that we can start with the facility. Because of the confidentiality and to give the people some rest, we are not going into the location, but we are working diligently to have all what we can do to keep St. Martin, like I say, as safe as possible with the care that the people will have. Coming back, what you are stating, and that is something that I have to make a remark about. You said it yourself. The people feel they have some symptoms and still they go out there and contaminate other people. As government, we have been making aware and requesting people, if you have symptoms, to stay home. Stay home. So you want to tell me that even though we're doing all this awareness of staying home, calling your family doctor and leave him make assessments how to go further, that you want to tell me that these people are still going on the street and probably infecting others? In my opening statement today, that's what I meant. People have to realize the mere fact that I know you, you know me, we are friends for a long time. Right now, it's the time to take care of yourself, your relative, your loved ones, and everybody. Wear your mask, keep your social distancing, and sanitize as much as possible. If you feel you have symptoms that might be coronavirus related, stay home. Do not get in touch with other people. That is what can be done. Thank you, Bibi.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck. Thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite, before I do that, I would like to inform that this was the last round of questions. Dimitri Whitfield, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. My final question, or the final question then, is going to go to Finance Minister Irian. Finance Minister, you said earlier that the Dutch government says it's unwilling to negotiate with St. Martin until the conditions for the second tranche has been met, and these are the negotiations for the third tranche. This means that, at least for the foreseeable future, there will not be any further capital injection from the Netherlands to government. What is government's current liquidity position? How much money does government still have in its coffers? And what is the country's position on foreign exchange? Are we losing on US dollars?
Thank you for your question. I don't have the current liquidity position as of today. At end of the month last month, it was 71 million guilders. We are obviously losing to foreign exchange because we don't have as much tourists and so forth coming in. And your third question, because it wasn't one, it was three. What was the third question?
The third question actually was about the country's position on foreign exchange. But you already answered the third question about are we losing on US dollars.
I missed one though, so
no, the other one was government's current liquidity position.
Okay. So I guess I answered all?
Yes, you did, Finance Minister.
In addition to the Dutch conditions and the liquidity position and so forth, I would also like the media and the public in Simon to know that yes, we are dealing with COVID-19, but the other government processes still continue. The other things that we had, especially in the Ministry of Finance, we're still continuing and also expediting. For example, one feature that we are working on now and should be completed in the next 2 to 3 months is the fact that we're going from when you make your online payments now with an bank or another bank, it takes a person and manual labor to take that information and type it over to match it with a person's account. We're now going over from that process to have it done digitally. The company that manages the system that we have currently, which is called Gefis, they basically don't exist anymore. So we had to hire a new company, Axion from Curacao, which are now busy modernizing that process. As I stated before, we're also working on online payments for government services. Hopefully that will be done in the next, now I believe, seven more weeks. In addition to that, I'm also presenting to Parliament, to the COM tomorrow again, hopefully, the updated version of our phone policy. This has been a policy and has been adopted a few times, and it is now being adopted again by my ministry. It has been, since I came to government to work as a financial controller, it has been lingered around since 2015, 2014, and I will be presenting it to COM tomorrow, where we will have approved phone policy that will also curb the abuse of phone bills in the government for the last few years. We've been spending millions of guilders over budget, in my opinion, for the last few years in government, and with this policy being approved, we will have that adjusted. So yes, meeting the conditions can be a little tedious, but we are also working on our own conditions that we didn't need Holland to tell us about. We didn't need Bezakat to tell us about, our own reforms to streamline and make government more efficient. We're also working on approving, but in that same policy, we're also going to be approving the gas bond policy. Another area where I see that we could streamline and also become more efficient and also save more money. When I present the budget to Parliament in a few weeks, I'll also hopefully be bringing legislation that I have amended, which is the redundancy law that affects former ministers and MPs. So the Ministry of Finance definitely is not only focused on COVID, but also focusing on the items that we were planning to do before COVID, which will streamline government, make it more efficient, and also save us more money. And hopefully I will be updating you guys every 2 weeks on improvements when it comes to going more digital, especially in time of COVID, and keeping the public and media up to date.
Thank you, Minister Edion. That brings us to the end of the question and answer session. I would like to thank the members of the media for taking part. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. For rebroadcast, tune in to St. Martin Cable TV, channel 115, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, be sure to log into the official government's website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Relaika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.